We made it. We made it. We made it. We made it.
It's the last one of the year.
We made it. We made it, Jeremy. We did so many streams. I think we did 11 streams this year.
That sounds about right. We
Isn't that
definitely
so
missed at
many?
least 1 month.
That's so many. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Angular Q&A coding live stream. I'm your host, Mark Texan, joined by the incomparable, the fantastic, the undeniably excellent Jeremy Elbourn.
I'm definitely comparable.
No, man. Sorry, I can't let you feel that way. My set here. Let me change my set. Okay, sounds good. Up they're all saying hello. You know what we got to do. We know what we got to do. Got to greet the people, Jeremy. Okay, Joe, what's going on? Good to see you. Oh, Angular is simply incredibly beautiful. Yawn. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, Amory, what up? What up? What up? What up? Gabriel de los Urios, what up? Good to see you. Joe Halternet, what's good? What's good? Michael Small. Michael Small, I noticed that you stay pretty active in the Reddit, putting out good information. We thank you for that. Thank you for doing that work. I appreciate that. Jeremy Elbourn, we're starting in a sec. Sadiq, what's good? What's going on? What's going on? Good to see you. Let's see. Think, create, share, grow. TCSG. I like that energy. That's right. Yes, that's right. I say we made front end devs excited about Angular 2024. We have been doing our best. Okay, that's all I can say. We've been doing our best. It's a lot to do, but we've been doing our best. What's going on, Krishna? What's going on, Shivam? Hello, Mohammed. How are you, Andres? What up, though? Hamza, welcome back. Good to see you again. Subcomandante, NG, sir. Start stream. We did start. Dimitri from Melmac. Oh, where's that? Where's Melmac?
We can easily figure that out.
Yeah. Javier was good. DGS was good from Romania. Always hello. Wilbur, what's up? I was introduced to Angular this year and completely changed my life. Literally. I'm so happy to hear that. We're so happy to hear that. We're so glad. Welcome to the community. Amit, what up? What up? Oh, the legend. Evgeny, what's going on? Welcome. Let's see. New to Angular. Says here, welcome. Well, you're new to good stuff. No standalone, all standalone. Hello from Mexico. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Let's see. Hello from Quebec. Bonjour, Marc. Comment ça va? Okay, Melmac is from. Oh yeah, from the show Alf. Jeremy, how did you not know that?
That because it's a little bit before my time,
Oh.
but that explains why nothing came up in Google Maps.
Let's go. You know what episode I remember of Alf as a kid? I remember the episode where he lived with a blind woman for a little while. And of course, she couldn't tell that he was an alien. And he had changed her apartment to have all these speed bumps and like all this like safety equipment. And the lesson was like she had learned to live normally in her environment. And he made it worse trying to be helpful. I remember that very well as a kid. That's one episode I do remember. Mehmet, what's going on? All right, Jan Nicholas was good. Karan, what up? Okay, friends.
Nicholas is here. I saw WebStorm is adding their own Bazel plugin. Very excited about this.
Why are you so excited about this?
Because Google publishes a Bazel plugin, but it's always behind, right? Like it doesn't keep up very quickly with like JetBrains IDE releases, and there are reasons for that. Very understandable reasons, but it would be nice to have an official JetBrains one.
Sure, I get that. I'm in the mood to do a lot of cool stuff. Oh, you can see my cable in this shot. I'm using different camera lens. You all probably can't tell, but today I'm using different camera lens. It probably looks just the same over a compressed stream.
I can't.
But what should we do today, Jeremy? Because okay, I have an idea. I was going to ask you, but I have an idea. Let's take a moment and let's just recap. Let's review. Let's think about all the things that we did this year. We did a lot.
I barely even remember what happened in this year versus last year. It's all a blur.
Well, so let's see. Was Signals this year or last year?
I mean, the Signal Primitives was definitely last year, right?
Okay.
That was quite a while ago now.
Yeah. So see, we've shipped so much that it is kind of hard to keep track of it. But we shipped some major things this year. I think one of the so you know what a surprise hit for me was, Jeremy, was how much the community loved our work with linked signal and resource. That was surprising to me.
Yeah, these are some very good APIs.
Hmm. Yeah, and it was interesting because I thought that incremental hydration was going to be like the big hit that everyone talked about only. And I was pretty confident that that's what we were spending a lot of our time chatting about. And people have really loved incremental hydration, but linked signal is just like the thing that the streets have been waiting for. They've been waiting so long for this API.
Yeah, there's even been Googlers, like we have an Angular chat inside of Google, and there's been a couple of times when someone is like, "Man, I've got this situation where I've got like one signal, but it needs to be like based on the value of this other thing over here." I'm like, "Well, you haven't been reading our blog. We've got
Hmm.
the API for you."
Hmm. Yeah, this is bananas. It's just so wild to think that we ship that. And you know why? But so on the other side, I'll say this about when it comes to incremental hydration and how important of a release that is. I don't think the community quite, I mean, I'm sure they appreciate it, but I don't know if they quite understand just like the magnitude of that
Mhm.
because it wasn't supposed to be possible with Angular's architecture, our internal architecture.
Yeah, I mean, the introduction of the defer block into Angular made a lot of things possible that wouldn't have been otherwise. Because,
Mhm.
kind of to get technical for a second, like defer introduces an explicit asynchronous loading boundary inside of templates. And without some sort of mechanism like that, the feature of defer loading itself, but also things like incremental hydration just wouldn't be very nice to do.
Mhm. Yeah. See, that's incredible. You know what I mean? Like that's just incredible. And then we're able to leverage all the functionality of defer to be able to open up the pathways to something like incremental hydration, which is magic. I talked about this recently. I was at a conference in Texas last week. I talked about just like incremental hydrations from the future. And I said the same thing last year about defer. And I know that there are other frameworks that have similar mechanisms like this island architecture, like deferred loading parts of the application. But like I tell people, I say, that's true, it's fine. But the way we've been able to do it with Angular really has created some really interesting new paradigms for the way to do these things. Because at the template level, you have, this ridiculously powerful lazy loading with defer. And now at the template level, you get to define, like you said, these like hydration boundaries and like these loading boundaries at the template level. And you're not fudging around in your like router and you're not doing all these configuration things. You're like, okay, and with your providers, you say, okay, and support it. Just support it with your provider. And then you just type hydrate on these incredibly powerful triggers. So I think that in the long term, hydration will just come to serve developers in a very special way. And that's
Yeah,
why I'm just so excited about it. That was a
yeah,
big win. All the other Signal APIs we released this year, right?
yeah.
Like the inputs and what is it? Content children.
Yeah, the queries and model in particular. I'm really a big fan of model inputs because, having worked on Angular material for a long time, working on common UI
Mhm.
components, this was one of the things that was kind of a little, like, honestly, like a little clumsy with
Sure.
like ng model and the forms. Right, kind of the original idea behind making ng model work the way it was compared to AngularJS was like, like it doesn't need to be built into the framework. It can
Mhm.
be this thing that exists in user space, and this makes sense as part of the forms package. And I think what we kind of learned over time is like, actually, it's just easier if it's built into the framework. It
You
doesn't.
know what? That gives me a really good idea. Um, Jeremy, you feel like doing some fun coding, nothing super complicated?
Yeah, I was thinking if we wanted to do some coding, we could look at the new resource API because in the last stream we looked at link signal, but we didn't get into resource at all.
Yeah, but before you go there, I would love for you to demonstrate model versus signal input and some of the just like ideas to separate those for developers, because I think those. Yeah, see, okay, so people are asking like input versus input signal. um Definitely we'll spend some time doing that, and we'll spend the rest of our time doing resource, because I think resource is really cool, and we'll spend some time doing that. I'm gonna look for some questions too. Question is this: am I supposed to return a new object and when I do signal dot update?
Yes.
Yes,
I
you
think
are.
so.
Return a new one.
Well, if you let me think about this for a second. If you just change it inside of update, I think you are like the intention is that you return a new object that you're like using with immutable stuff for
Right.
now. In the original, like the very first time we put out signals, there was also a mutate function that would say like, "Hey, go change this thing," even if it doesn't seem like it changed, and we got rid of that. And at the time, we were like, well, we're maybe not getting rid of it forever, but we're just getting rid of it for now. And I think with update, the idea is that you're always returning a new instance of the thing.
So Evgeny also brings up a really interesting idea. He says, well, because in set you don't have a previous value, and update is needed for in a case when you need access to the previous value. So that's one way to think about
Yep.
when to use both of those. Really good insights there. Wilbur says the atmosphere is very pleasant and very inspiring here. Thank you. We are nice. It's true. It's true. The legends are true. We are nice. Thank you for that, though. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Michael Small says link signal really made template driven forums pop off, in my opinion. Link signal is so cool. I think it's an underrated API in a way that. Here's what I mean by that. I think it's underrated in the fact that developers are going to come up with new, exciting use cases for that API over time, and we're only at the beginning of what people are going to do with that API.
Uh, so if we want to get into some coding, let me get a starting place set
Yeah,
up
go
over here.
for it. Oh, here's some good feedback from Alcatraz. Oh, one, what up, Alcatraz? Good to see you. Do dev teams, I think, at Google test on Windows, particularly CLI tooling? Recently, the template HMR experimental feature was discovered to not work on Windows. Firebase CLI has similar issues. Okay, first and foremost, let me talk about the template HMR thing. Template HMR is experimental. We're working on it, meaning so it's experimental, meaning the APIs and the surface may change, etc. But we're actually working on it still. Like we're still working on it. Because first we started with HMR and we had form support. One of my first videos for the Angular team was actually the HMR video that I made where I talked about how HMR supported maintaining your form data. And I remember even then asking a really direct question like, hey, when's it going to support the other stuff that's important? And so we've made tremendous updates to the framework since then. And so we have CSS, which I think is in developer preview right now for HMR, hot module replacement. Just released a video on that, like I think yesterday, for edit refresh cycle. And then, but I didn't talk about the HTML templates just yet because those are still in a developer preview. So if there's some bugs, please do that thing where you go to the GitHub and update us, like let us know that things are not working there, especially if you have like specific reproducible states that you can share with us. That'll really help us out to track down bugs. But yeah, anything else you want to add, Jeremy?
I mean, the question here is like specifically asking like, hey, is there a lot of Windows testing inside of Google? No, there is not. I mean, for teams that will like are building software that needs to run on Windows, like Chrome, I'm sure the Chrome team has some sort of Windows testing, but the vast majority of Googlers have nothing to do with Windows ever.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I am just checking out some stuff here for us. Looks good. Looks great. How are you? Excellent, excellent, excellent. Yeah, good feedback. Okay, question from Subcomandante. Are there any plans to ship a promise-based HTTP client? If so, when?
There's maybe plans to ship a signal-based HTTP client.
Yeah. How do we
Maybe.
make sure that our application is future-proof for Zone JS less migration? We are using signals, but is that enough, or do we need to change the on push as well?
So on push is like I'll put it this way. There's two paths to getting to being zoneless compatible. Path number one is like get on push everywhere. And path number two is get signals everywhere. Generally, if you are on push, you can just flip over to zoneless and it is a very low complexity affair.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we have ever talked to anyone who has like gone to like taken an existing application of decent size,
Yeah.
switched everything to signals, and then went to zoneless. Everyone we've said, everybody we've gone to zoneless with so far for an existing application has gone the on push route. So you may be treading new ground there if you do it that way.
Kindly explain NGRX and Angular signals. Well, Angular signals are our reactive primitives, and NGRX is a community-led project that has some reactive extensions that you can check out.
Yeah, like, and NGRX is not something that is maintained by the Angular team. We always want to clarify. It is a very popular community library, though. Lots of people love it, and it's based heavy on RxJS. And
Right.
although I think like the new like versions of NGRX have more signal stuff.
Yes, they do.
Whereas Angular signals, right, like it's a set of kind of lower level APIs in Angular itself that are part of Angular, like directly used inside of Angular, that can be used to build bigger things. You can also have kind of a bigger state management solution like NGRX built on top of Angular signals.
Mm-hmm. So while Jeremy's setting up his coding environment, he's going to be able to share in a minute. I'll tell you all something that I've been thinking about. I learned a new term recently. So I like this. This is paper, though. Like I don't know if you can see that I'm actually casting a little bit of a shadow. This is paper. This is really good for like videos and like educational like type content. But I want a set down here. I'm in a space where I'm recording, but I want to like build a set. So I learned this term, stage flats. Stage flats. What these are these low effort to build, very lightweight and portable like scenery that you can make for like they make for like movies and plays. I'm gonna try to build some over the holiday break. I'm gonna be on holiday soon. And one of my first things, I'm gonna go to Lowe's or some hardware store near me, and I'm gonna get some wood. I'm going to build a stage flat for here, and then hopefully in January when we do our next stream, I'll have like a different scene to show people. I can't wait. I'm really excited about this idea.
How handy are you, Mark?
I'm growing in my handiness. Let's say that.
Look,
I'm
if you
growing.
want advice on tools, especially woodworking tools, let me know.
Oh, I'm going to call you. You know, I'm going to call you, Jeremy. You know the worst thing I went through. So I had to replace some baseboards in my house, and I had 13 feet long to go. The hardware store near me would not do a cut because I needed like an inch cut off, and they wouldn't cut it in store. They're like, you got to do that yourself.
Yeah.
And I didn't have anything but a handsaw, and I cut 13 feet of 1 inch with a handsaw, and it was miserable.
You shouldn't have done that.
I didn't have any other option because I was just so tired. I really wanted to wrap that project. Ugh.
Did you like have to say it? Like, was the part that you cut the part that was like invisible?
It was the bottom part, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because if I had to sand it and like smooth it out, I even had a planer that I bought, like a manual planer to try to do it, and the manual planer didn't work. Yeah, you learn. What's up, Lars? Had it running in the background. You forgot about it. That's all right. What's up, Lars? Always good to see you. Always good to see you all. Here, something else I'll tell you. I look at a lot of videos on the internet like most people, and then sometimes I'll look at Angular videos. written by other people just to see what people are saying, just to be on the in the know, so to speak. I see people like you, Lars, and other people from the community like in there, like spitting facts about Angular. I appreciate that. Thank you for being an advocate for Angular. Is runtime rendering component factory at ng template outlet has performance issue? Also, can I use strategy pattern with components UI depending on runtime rendering?
So let's dissect this. I'm gonna like rephrase this. Is using component factory or ng template outlet a performance problem? No, like those are fine to use. There's no like intrinsic performance problems with using those APIs. The only catch is no, there's not. That's not even a catch. It's fine. And the second part of this is, can I use the strategy pattern with components UI depending on runtime rendering? Yeah, you could do that. That is a pattern that I've used in product code before, back when I was doing product code development before I was on the Angular team, and it's fine. Like there's the only
what the strategy pattern means, Jeremy.
So the idea here would be like you have something that is deciding what controls you're going to render based on some runtime logic. So there is a couple of caveats I will give here, though. So if you are not statically using a particular component and you are instead saying like, hey, I have some runtime condition, and based on that runtime condition, I'm going to render one of these three components. If you're doing that, you have to include the code for all three of those components in your bundle ahead of time. Or you can make it so that instead of like having direct references to those components, you can dynamically import them. That will keep them out of your initial bundle, and that will be better for performance if it's something that you're going to, if you can tolerate being kind of a higher latency for rendering those things based on some condition. Further, if it is based on some data being loaded, if you're going to like render something, then load some data, and then use that data to decide what to show, and then you dynamically render something based on that. Like, if you do it very naively, you can end up with like a suboptimal performance experience, because what you're doing is like, okay, you're loading your initial JavaScript bundle, and you're making another round trip to the server to get that data. Then if you didn't like dynamically load the components that you care about, you loaded those components in your initial bundle unnecessarily. But you also don't want to like do a round trip to the data and then do another round trip to get the components, because then the latency is even farther. So you have to kind of be clever about knowing like, what do I want to render and when do I need to load it to like minimize the latency? And so there's no one size fits all solution for that. You just have to kind of tailor it to the specific pattern that you're trying to support.
Excuse me, I need some water. Hold on. No water again. I keep forgetting to put water in here. All right. I don't know why I think that joke is so funny that there's nothing in my mug, but in my mind, this is the hilarious joke. And I keep telling it, but it's really not even that funny. It's not funny at all. Okay, let me change my set here. I need some gaff tape on my desk so I can know where to place all my items.
All right.
You know what I have a problem with the community, Jeremy. I know you're ready to share your code screen, but I'm gonna tell you something. Nobody has commented on my nice new glasses, and I take that personally. I just want y'all to know at home, nobody commented on wearing my new glasses so I can see. That really hurts my feelings. Okay, Jeremy, you ready to share your screen?
I want to highlight this though. Someone, Tommy mentioned here, they migrated 5,000 components to the new control flow. How'd that go? Any problems? I'm gonna guess it went great.
Wait, I like how people pander to me, because when I complain like a baby, people are so nice. But I love it. Thank you.
In future streams, just compliment whatever Mark is wearing.
Every time. If you want to be my favorite, compliment me every time. I love it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. You love my glasses. Look sharp. Thank you very, very much. Hold on. I'm going to answer this before. You can share your screen, Jeremy. While you're sharing your screen, I'll answer this. But you got to take off the, what you call that first.
Yeah. So I'm going to minimize my thing here.
Whenever you're ready, you got the power to share. Why is Angular also considered less beginner friendly compared to other frameworks, and what steps are being taken to make it more appealing and accessible to new users? Okay, Randolph, this is actually a really great question, and I feel uniquely qualified to answer this because I've been working on this problem since I got here. This is the thing that I've been working on. Well, so before it's considered less beginner friendly because some of the patterns that you just had to know out of the gate were traditionally seen as more complex. For example, if you were going to try to make an HTTP request to a REST API, initially people always pointed you toward things like HTTP client, right? And that requires you to know RxJS. And then people say, well, why do I need RxJS to get to data, which makes sense, right? So we saw things around it, and we were trying to make some changes there around the complexity around those ideas. And then there was other things that made it more complex. We had the system of organizing your resources for your components, directors and pipes, in a system called modules. For us, modules helped us to do some really nice code organization and manage this idea of dependency injection, etc. However, when you come in from maybe not knowing Angular, modules seem like a lot of overhead and complexity. So we just kind of gained the reputation of being complex through some of the things that we were hoping to be helpful for community members, but just turned out to be a little bit harder unexpectedly. So that was part of the story. What have we been doing since? Well, I feel like we've made an incredible amount of progress. Some of the work that's been done, if you think about things like the new control flow, instead of using directives in your templates for control flow, for loops, things like that, that makes it completely less overhead when you just want to do things, some of the basic things that you do when you first start to learn a programming a framework. Then if you consider something like standalone components, right? Versus module based. We teach standalone first. Speaking of teaching, that's one of the things that we spent a lot of time on, and myself as well. And Jeremy's actually helped a magnificent amount with this. We've been doing things like rewriting our documentation, coming up with new, fresh examples, right, for people to be able to like learn things with Angular. So a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff.
I want to ask, did anybody on the stream notice that the template guide was recently rewritten? If you go to angular.dev, actually here, I'm gonna do it right now. Here, I'm sharing my screen.
Go for it. Share your screen.
I'll go even full screen. So recently, the fantastic Ben Hong, who's been helping with Angular documentation, and myself worked on this rewritten template guide here that is so much more comprehensive than what we had before. So just to like example, we got all of our information about bindings, and we actually have documentation now about all the like CSS and style syntax stuff you can use. We've got information about two-way binding. Brand new that we never had before is like an actual documentation page about what actually is supported and what's not supported in Angular's expression syntax in templates. So, you know, we support all these literal types, but we don't support template strings. We don't support regex literals. We support all these operators. We do not support like any of this stuff. So you can actually find a place here that tells you what is supported and what is not. This is where the defer docs live now. Everything you could do in a template. This is following up the components guide, which has also kind of similarly had a big overhaul. And we have a draft for the router guide, which, you know, is in need of some attention. And then we have an outline for the dependency injection guide that we're kind of working on. And so we're working our way through these foundational documentation pages, trying to make sure that they are giving you all the information. Oh yeah, I also here one more thing I'll
just show it. I'm going to answer this question.
As part of V19, I also updated all of these essentials topics for components, reactivity with signals, templates. So this is kind of our introductory content. The way I kind of think about it is like, this is the bare minimum you need to know to start coding with Angular. And it's very short, very to the point. So if there is someone new to Angular that you want to kind of nudge them where they should start, these essentials are a really great place. Or if they want to just start coding, they go straight to the tutorial.
Melissa Must asks, hi, what makes Angular different from React that's worth mentioning, Mark and Jeremy?
Oh, I mean, that's an hour-long talk.
Yeah, but we are. Do you remember that show, VR Troopers, by any chance?
Showed what?
Do you remember the show VR Troopers?
VR Troopers, yes, man. I was a child when that
Yeah,
was on TV.
we are VR. That's what made when I said we are what's different than React. Um, but yeah, VR Troopers. Man, what a time! What a time! But seriously though, like Jim said, that's about it. We can talk for an hours about what makes us different. I think
Yeah.
I'll tell you what's really exciting. Check out incremental hydration. That's nobody has that, so check that out.
Yeah. I mean, I can give you kind of like, this is not going to be comprehensive, but here's
No,
a
no, no, don't go into it.
no, no, not now.
Nope, because I want you to go into the code. They've been listening to us jabber, especially we haven't been talking a
Okay,
lot.
okay.
Look at
Mark's the
the code.
boss, and so I'm gonna code for him now.
Yeah, let's write some code.
All right, so I'm gonna like scrunch down this little template down here. But this is a very basic thing. I have an application here, and the only thing in this application right now is I have this one instance of my control, and then I have this my control right here. It's a component. All it's doing is printing out the values of some input and control value. And it defines this some input, and this control value is the model. And so let's come here and say, all right, I've got two things here. I'm going to call them like first value and second value. And they're both signals. They're both going to start off as the empty string. Well, let's start them off as something else. Let's just say like first and second. And then we're going to go ahead and just bind these into the control. So we're going to say some input is equal to the first value.
Wait, the streets are asking for a slightly larger code.
This is as large as it always is.
Yeah, that's all right.
Um,
Wait, what, Justin? Wait, somebody said React and Angular are at the same number, and then Justin was like, "Yeah, for now." That's true. We do release 2 major versions a year. We'll be at 21
yes.
by the end of the year.
There's nothing surprising here, right? Like Angular releases 2 major versions every year, right? Like we do one in the spring and one in the fall or winter.
Yeah.
And like that's just the way of things. The version is very predictable.
Yeah, but I like that people, have their feelings about it. I'm not even mad. I get it. I get it.
Cool. So we have this control here, my control here. I can maybe like, I can try to like zoom in a little bit more. And they're both bound the same way, right? We can do like normal property bindings on these and they work exactly the same way. I see my first value, second, whoops, what just happened? I don't know what happened. They both work identically the same, right? So what is the difference between input and model? Well, the difference is that for this model, for this control value, I can also use the two-way binding syntax here, the colloquially, affectionately referred to as banana in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And when I do that with a signal, I take these parentheses away. And instead of binding to the value of the signal, I am passing the signal itself. And so when I save that, I come over here and like, this still works. This is refreshed, still doing exactly the same thing. We're binding, this first value, the second value into this component. And let me actually make it so that I can
change
these.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, Jeremy. The streets are saying, what are you doing?
I'm showing off input and model and the difference between them.
Yes. 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 Yes.
So I'm just going to go ahead and add, I'm not even going to bother adding a text input. I'm going to just add a button. Update values. Click. Because I'm lazy and I don't feel like adding a whole text input. But I'm going to do that. So in my update method here, I'm going to say this dot first value dot update. And I'm just going to add an X at the end. I'm going to do that to both of those.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm being very lazy. All right, so update values, and so like I'm adding x's there.
Nice.
And you can see that when I update these signals, those values come through the bindings to the input and the model, and they get rendered out into the template, right? So we can just keep doing that, and that's fine. So refresh that. So the difference here is in this control, I'm going to add another button now. And I'm going to click here. And I'm going to say update control value. Add that function. And here I can say this dot model, or not model, this dot control value dot update. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to update that value and add a Y at the end now. And I should add some button text, but update control value. All right, so now I have these two buttons. This one is part of my common control. This one is part of the like parent control. And so I can click this and both will update, but I can now also click update this control value and it's going to add Y's here. And I realize I don't actually have anything that shows that in the parent control. So let's add that. So,
yeah, there you go.
So I'm going to say
parent control
here,
in front.
we're going to say first value. And update that. Boop. So, and I'm just going to put a little HR here just for funsies.
Yeah, and could you throw like a little P tag right on line 5 that says from parent and then from child so they can see the difference?
Do parent. And then to child. Boop.
There you go.
And we'll even put an HR here for more lines. UX designers love when you add lines. And I'm going to move this button up so that it's with the parent section. There we go. So we can update this and we see that updates everywhere. And then I update my control value here and we'll see that that value actually propagates back up to the parent because I'm using this, where is it? This two-way binding syntax. And because I'm passing this signal itself rather than just the signal value, Angular is able to hook this signal up to this signal, this control value here, and it keeps them in sync. Now, if I were to
second value is a model, though.
Yes, control value is a model.
Control value.
Now, if I were to try to take this input here, and I say this dot sum input dot update, and I try to do the same thing, what's going to happen, Mark?
You can't because inputs are read only.
That is correct. The update method does not exist on input signal because inputs are read only. So we'll just get that right out of there. And so that is the difference between input and model. So input is a normal input. If you are familiar with any other web framework, this is the equivalent to a prop, right? So React, Preact, Svelte, Solid, Vue, like they use the term prop. Angular uses the term input just because they came out at different times. But this is some value that is passed into your component, kind of like a parameter to a function. Whereas model is, it can also behave as a parameter that this accepts, but if you use this two-way binding syntax and you pass this signal, by passing the signal, you're saying I'm explicitly giving you kind of write access to my signal, then this control can update that value as well, and Angular will make sure that these values stay in sync. And so when I update these in either location, it updates in both places, and you can see the like XY here.
All right, Jeremy, I want to answer this question, but I want you to fact check me on this one. So we don't use output, we should use model. Okay, so that's not quite the truth.
Well, output is a different thing entirely,
Right.
right?
But this
So
person's probably thinking previously, if I wanted to keep values in sync, I would do an event to say, here's the new value for this, you know, input that I have, right? Like, here's the new value. I manually sync it that way.
So this is a very good question, because the answer is quite nuanced, and so I will dig into a little bit of like, when does it make sense
Yes.
to use model?
Yes.
And most of the time, you would want to use model when you are building some sort of control that inherently changes the value of some part of its own state, some part of its UI. The perfect example here is a checkbox. If you are building a checkbox component, part of what that checkbox does is inherently it changes its own check state when you click on it, right? In Angular Material, I can come over here and go to the demo for mat checkbox. If I just drop a mat checkbox like on the page here, right? This has no inputs bound to it. I can like zoom this in a little, but like there's just a mat checkbox here. It says check me. It has no bindings. It has no inputs. It has no event handlers. But when I go here and I click check me, that check state changes. And you want that, right? Like it's kind of a pain if you have a UI component and you drop it on the page and you try interacting with it and the interactions don't do anything because if you are exclusively dealing with like read-only props and you don't have something like model or something like that, then you click on this and nothing happens because the component is built in such a way it's like, I'm just showing the state that's bound in, and you would listen to a click event and change that state that's bound in. So model lets you write components that update their own state, and that state can propagate back to whatever parent is binding into it. If you are in a situation where instead you have some single piece of state that is consumed by many different components and may be edited or like change, like the user may interact with many of these different components, and that all of those things might lead to changes to that data, you probably don't want model, although you may be able to use it depending on your situation. But what you probably want instead is a single source of truth for that state that all of those components have access to, potentially in a service. So the thing that I really want to emphasize is that one of the most important things when architecting your application with signals is making sure that any state you introduce has a single source of truth. One of the most common things we see, one of the most common pitfalls with signals is people using an effect to synchronize state between two different Angular signals. If you ever find yourself using an effect over a signal and then writing to a different signal, that is a very clear sign that that state should be somewhere else.
Yeah.
Does that make sense, Mike?
No, it does. I think that I want to write an article about this because I feel like this pattern is just going to be unclear for developers who are still getting used to it. And I want to make a video. I want to write an article just to make sure that people feel more comfortable. Eric says, "Thanks, that is helpful." But Eric, listen to me. This is super serious. Your question. I'm looking at the wrong camera. I'm looking at my laptop camera. Your question, you just asked it out loud, but everyone has this question, right? As they're trying to get used to our new patterns. Even when I was working with the team when we were first releasing model, I remember asking one of the authors on the framework, I was like, wait, why wouldn't I just do this with an output? Because that's what I would do normally. I would just make an output and then I would sync state that way, right? I would say, okay, something changed, and I would fire an event. I would emit an event, and then, but if I already have a signal that does this, like, what's the difference? So great question. People are going to benefit greatly from you prompting Jeremy with that explanation. Super good. Super good. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right. You want to do some resource programming, Jeremy?
I don't know if we have time.
Well, it depends on you, how much time you got, brother.
I think maybe we can defer doing a demo of resource until January.
We can.
Because I think that's a whole hour worth of
Just
discussion
doing
and
resource stuff.
coding.
All right, then let's rapid fire through some questions. I've been like, let's see. Okay, here's a good question. Where are the new patterns published? Been out of the Angular game for a few years, and work has forced me back into it. Independent Californian. Listen, independent Californian. Check out Angular.dev is one place. Check out our YouTube channel is another place. What else, Jeremy?
These videos are good. These live streams are a good source, but definitely like the Angular blog, right? So like blog.angular.dev is where we post kind of like all of the new big flashy stuff and major releases. If you follow some of us on Blue Sky, we have updates there. In particular, I think we're actively working on getting an official Angular account on Blue Sky.
We are. Yes, right. That's right.
Soon.
Working on it. I got so many questions. Let's see if we can get through some of these. Some of these were asked like 30 minutes ago. So if you're still around, thank you for your patience, or you can catch the answer on the replay. All right. I would love to hear about resource being promise-based and what that says about the future of HTTP client and specifically interceptors.
So, the like RxJS based HTTP client isn't going anywhere, right? Like that is going to stick around and continue to be supported. We may get to a point where we move the HTTP client that exists today into the RxJS interop package instead of Angular Common. Honestly, like we shouldn't have an Angular Common package at all, but it's there. And what we are thinking about, I'm not making any promises here, but having an API that, similar to how we have a resource today, something that would be HTTP resource. And that would be a kind of reactive abstraction over HTTP requests that are giving you a signal back with the result. It would work very similar to resource, but would be specifically tailored to being kind of those like HTTP requests. No matter what we build that is like doing HTTP stuff, it is going to support interceptors.
Yeah.
They probably won't be RxJS based interceptors, which I know like today, all of the interceptors are based on RxJS. And so if we ever get to a point where we are using some underlying HTTP client that is not RxJS based, it may be some different interceptor API. I don't know what that would be yet. So it's hard to say what that like the differences would be, but that is a direction that we might consider.
Is it a valid use case to try and initiate a signal with the value of the required input signal? I tried and I get an error related to the input signal not being initialized yet.
So is it valid to try to initialize a signal, the value of a required input signal? I see. So even required inputs are still not set until ng-on init. You can't read them in the constructor. And this actually comes up, this brushes against the use of the class construct for Angular components, because Angular components are classes, Angular has to first instantiate the class, and then Angular can interact with that class, which means that you have to say, say you have a user profile component. Angular first has somewhere in the framework code is saying new user profile component, then the constructor runs, and then only after that constructor finishes does Angular get back a reference to your component instance to which it can set the inputs. And so there is no way for Angular to make the inputs have values during the constructor, because Angular can't even get a reference to the instance back until the constructor finishes. And that is one of the kind of like the trade-offs you make with using classes as the like authoring structure and the like the construct for Angular components, is that you have this not exactly like temporal dead zone means something else, but this is the term we've been using for it in our own conversation of this like this dead zone between the constructor and on init when those input values can be set.
All right, let's keep it rolling. PWA is still a first-class citizen in Angular, or is it history?
I I mean, the Angular service worker package is still supported. It's not deprecated. If it solves a problem for you, you can use it. I think over time, though, the team has kind of come to see that we're not really adding a lot of value to the like service worker or PWA use cases, and that you're probably just as well off doing that yourself instead of like relying on Angular to do that stuff for you.
Yeah.
And so what I would say, like, if that package provides some value to you, feel free to still use it, but it's not something we're actively working on and probably won't be actively working on for the foreseeable future.
Okay, let's see. I'm looking. Okay, we got a ton of questions. We got a ton of comments. I want to add some more to our list. Let's see if we can rapid fire because we're coming up on the end of this thing. And I want to ask a different question to the community. Why is true HMR including TypeScript hard? Is it because of ng module?
It's not because of ng module. I wish Doug were here. Doug could talk for like 20 minutes on why TypeScript HMR is really difficult. It's because it can put your code in an inconsistent state. I'm not, I'll leave it at that, right? Like it's very tricky because your code is, when you write your code, you're expecting it to run a certain way. And when you're doing HMR, you're kind of changing the contract so that it is running in a different way. For servers, HMR makes a lot of sense because a server responds to a request, right? Like kind of, you don't have a lot of like, obviously servers have state, but if you are doing like HMR with like a Java web server, right? Like you change some code, your Java web server updates, and then you initiate a new request to that server. And so you're like, the path that you're going through as your code changes is consistent as you interact with it. Whereas on UI code, if you try to like change some code, the state that you're storing in your UI may now be inconsistent with what that code is expecting since you've changed it. And that could lead to weird errors in your local developer experience that would just force you to need to refresh anyway. And so there's this trade-off between like, well, like, could it be faster versus like, it's going to give you like confusing errors. And it's probably better to just try to make the edit refresh fast enough such that refreshing the page is not a problem.
Yeah. Are they say it again. A question from John here. Are there any limitations to using toSignal with route/data params?
Not that I'm aware of. We are planning on adding Signal APIs on top of kind of the existing forms and router systems so that you can just use them more neatly without having to call like toSignal, but that is still on the backlog.
Will onPush be default in the future like standalone is now?
I don't know. So here, I will say, for new applications inside of Google, we do set them to onPush by default. We did not change what like the actual change detection strategy is, but we make it so that whenever you generate a new application, it sets onPush, and then we add a little check to the project that will give you an error if you set something that's not onPush.
Yeah.
But for the rest of the world, it's hard to say. Like I can't give a definitive answer, but the idea, like kind of the longer term idea, is if you go back and you read the original Angular Signals RFC, we had an alternate configuration that was in your component decorator. It was signals true, and we called this signals-based components. And these were components that only allowed you to use the signal-based APIs for like input and queries and what have you. And they also got rid of all of the lifecycle methods except for onInit and onDestroy, because all of those other lifecycle hooks are related to the way the change detection works before you're in a signals-based world. And in that kind of signals-based component, there would be no option for change detection strategy. It would always just be like using signals. And The kind of the longer term goal is to get to a point where we have these signal based components, and you don't even have to think about like on push versus something else.
Okay, let me
Yeah,
all right. So here's I know there were a bunch of other questions, friends, but I have another question I think is really important and I would love to hear from you all. We changed up the stream quite a bit since inception. First, we started off by playing video games. Then we did coding video games. Now we do chatting plus showing off new features.
I still want to play games, Mark.
Uh-oh. Did I go away?
Your video bounced.
Uh-oh.
We're seeing the Elgato no signal.
Oh no. What if my camera died? Let me check. What do people want to see next though? That's what I'm interested in.
Well, I mean, the thing I want to see next is you.
Oh, that's really too bad. You know what I've been doing this whole time? My camera has been unplugged. This whole time.
The whole time. How are we seeing you?
Ugh. Brutal. Brutal. My camera has been unplugged. So the battery has been draining.
Oh, the battery died. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the battery died. It's just been slowly draining this whole time. Let me see what I can do. I can't do anything. Really. I can't reveal my true form. Let me see. I got a different camera. Let me see if it's gonna reveal. It reveals too much of my here. I'll show this camera for now. The other camera battery's dead. Okay. I'm back. Look how less glossy that is.
Yes. Well, I thank you for compromising your production values.
Yeah. Hold on. So far, so frosty. But now you all get to see like so people look at that again. Damn the man. But now you all get to see that there is a you know, there is a difference between the quality of camera. Like people don't understand how much camera quality varies because they look at numbers like, oh, it's 4K resolution. It doesn't matter. Like the lens matters, the the sensor matters, like lots of stuff matters. Sprint mode camera activated. Hey, because I'm here for the people. I'm here for the people. I will let this happen. What more do you want to see from us in 2025? What more do you want to see from us? That's what I'm really interested in. Build a game. I see that. Oh, God, I'm not using signals. Okay, this is a funny one. I like this joke. How about this is a good joke? Oh, God, no say they're not using signals. Good joke. I like that. I was trying to say, I was just thinking about the games not being around anymore. Okay, Jeremy, if I had to choose for myself, what I would choose for us to do, I would choose for us to definitely play more games. I would like to see us do more games, build more games, and continue to do like this chatty slash let's explain a topic that's people maybe want to check out with API. Oh, and you can see my gray beard hairs more closely this way too, probably.
I trim my gray beard hairs out.
Yeah, I like them. I like them because it makes me feel like a young Denzel Washington.
But no, I had a game queued up in case you were like, all right, let's do it. It's December. Let's play a game.
What game would it have been?
It would have been this game called Malware. It is a puzzle game where it seems like you're trying to navigate Windows installers and avoid installing malware along the way.
Oh, I love it. We should play that in January when we kick off. People get some good things here. They want to see more real world examples plus code practices. Okay, let me tell you, friends, this at home though. I will tell you this. This is true story. I've suggested this a lot of times, and Jeremy rightfully brought up the limitation with that. It takes a lot of planning if we're going to do like a real world example, right? It takes a lot of planning, and neither one of us have a ton of bandwidth, right? Like part of what makes the stream so great for us is that it doesn't require us to like do a lot of extra work to make this happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've told Mark before, like the only way I can keep doing the stream is if we do streams that require no preparation. I just show up and start talking.
So maybe this, Jeremy. I got an idea. Oh, I should write this down. This is a really good idea. Maybe we can do a series next year. Oh, that'd be so good. That'd be so good. We'll see. Let me just say it out loud. Maybe we can do a series next year. Like I'll plan it. I'll plan an app, right? And then we just code it, and you can coach me through coding it, and you can code some of it, and we can like keep the GitHub repo public as people in case people want to see it. You know what I mean? And we can
Mhm.
just build some. But I'll plan it though. I'll plan it first myself, so that way it's not the burden is not on you, and I can come up with like the tasks that we need to do for each part of it.
Yeah, we could do something like that, right? I got plenty of ideas for apps I want to make.
Yeah, tell me and I'll start planning it, and then that way, yeah, DM me and I'll start planning it. If I plan it, then I think that takes the burden off of you to have to do it because listen, friends, you all don't really understand what what Jeremy's life is like at Google being a Uber TL. I always joke around like, oh, he's incomparable, he's this, he's that. No, Jeremy really does a ton to lead this team, and he's quite busy. So to get him on stream is like, it's great, and I don't ever want to like waste his time. People love this idea. People love it. We're gonna do it. That's it.
Yeah. Like of
That's
all
it.
the games that we've built, the one I feel like is actually most attainable for us to implement like a real version of is Spades.
Yes, totally agree. We were so close. We were so close, but we spent like an hour describing the difference between tricks and books and looking it up on like Wikipedia, all this kind of stuff. It's so funny. Um, yeah, okay. I love this. I love this. We will make some stuff. We'll do some games next year. We'll build an app next year together. I think it'd be good. So what if we do design patterns on your Angular app that will add a lot of value? Sure, we can do all that stuff. And you all can add, stuff like we can make this a fun community project. Um, that'd be good.
Yeah, if you want to give us more ideas, go get on Blue Sky and just
Yes,
post them on Blue Sky, and you can tag me and Mark.
do that. Justin White says, "What's your go-to Advent of code setup? Do you do it in Node or Bun? Are you doing
Advent
Advent of code
code.
this year?
No, I've never done that. Like I have work.
He got Advent of work. Are you guys gonna have a special video for Angular 20? Vanico, let me tell you something. You should see the proposals I come up with for the stuff. It's so far out. But we're gonna continue to plan, and V20 is gonna be special for
Yeah.
sure.
If V20, if the video is anything short of hiring a helicopter, Mark, I'm going to be disappointed.
That's right. That's right. I'll be disappointed if they'll make me do it. Let's see. Do Blue Sky? Yeah, go to Blue Sky. That's where we're hanging out at lately. Somebody asked if we use an AI editor. I like to use IDX right now for my hobby programming. A lot of fun. A lot of fun with IDX. All right, Jeremy, let's wrap this one up. Let's put this one in the books. I think we have enough ideas to start for next year. I'll do the Google thing. I'll write up a doc about our
Yeah.
2025 stream plans.
If you want to know what it's like to be a Google engineer, it's like you're spending the majority of your time just writing and reading Google Docs.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We're gonna do that. Let's see. Last thing is this. What are you watching, playing, reading?
Okay. So I don't normally listen to audiobooks,
Sure.
but the r/fantasy subreddit, I saw them keep recommending an audiobook called The Dungeon Crawler Carl, and it went
Oh,
on sale over the holidays and over Thanksgiving, and I picked it up and started listening. And I have just been rocketing through the series. I have listened to dozens of hours of the series now. I'm in, I think, the fifth book, and the
wow.
the audiobook is so good. It's such a great performance. The narrator has an incredible range and does different voices and accents for all of the characters. I've been enjoying it so much that I have not yet started reading the new Stormlight Archive book, which I had been eagerly anticipating.
Wait, Stormlight Archive, is that? I'm trying to remember. Is
So,
Stormlight Archive the one where everybody has superhero powers?
sure, yeah, you could say that.
No, 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 no.
Brandon Sanderson. It's
No,
a very
there's a
popular like epic fantasy series.
but there's a book series that he wrote where the superheroes are like evil.
Oh, that is different. That's called The Reckoners.
The Reckoners, okay. Because I'm like, I went through like 3 of the Reckoners books. And so Stormlight Archive has been on my list of books to read. Okay, so you're going through this audiobook. What are you playing?
Playing Dragon Age Veilguard.
Nice.
Still, I
Okay,
think
and
I
then
mentioned that the last time we talked too.
what are you watching?
Um, the only like scripted show we're watching now, rewatching season 1 of Arcane in order to get up to watching season 2 to catch up. We watched season 1 when it came out, but
Yeah.
watching it again just to kind of remember. But yeah, Arcane, also great fantasy television. Highly recommend.
Oh, fantastic.
All
Okay,
right,
for
what about you,
me,
Mark?
I just finished the Andy Weir book, the something project.
Project Hail Mary?
Project Hail Mary.
Good one. It's a good one.
Very good one. I'll tell you offline why I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. I'll tell you offline. I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I gave it 4.5 out of 5. Just finished that. I'm working on We Are Legion right now. I just started We Are Legion, the Bobaverse book. This is a different author. So I'm working on that book, and I'm reading another book by this guy, Yuri. It's called Nexus. It's about like a history of information and artificial intelligence. Very heavy read. It's not like a light read. It's like a get smart read.
Actually, I just ordered that book as a holiday present for my fiance, who I don't think can hear me right now.
Oh, you know what book I'm talking about?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a feel good about life read. It's a very like heady book. You know, you gotta be thinking. You know what I mean? But that's pretty good. So just reading that book. So I'm doing those 2 books at the same time. What am I watching? I am watching. What's the one with Silo? And I just started Warrior. So that's that. What am I playing? I'm not playing anything, but I am about to buy a PlayStation Portal so I can play video games because I said in 2025, because I can't do all 3. I can't watch movies, read books, and play video games. I just don't have enough time. So I have to kind of choose 2. And I've decided that I want to do way more books and video games in 2025. So I said that I was going to get a PlayStation Portal so I can get some control of my TV because I don't have any control of it.
I mean,
So
don't you have a Steam Deck?
I do, but I want to play PlayStation games because you know what I saw last night? Freaking Naughty Dog has announced their next game, and I watched that trailer like 5 times looking for any clues, any tie-ins, because Neil Druckmann can do no wrong in my eyes at this point in terms of writing. Naughty Dog makes some of the best single-player experiences in the world. I've loved all of the like single-player games, Uncharted, The Last of Us. You know what I mean? Like that's just my jam. So the Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet or something like that. I can't wait. I just cannot wait. I am over the moon for this game. But you know what surprised me more than that though? The return of Onimusha. I was so jazzed about that game.
You mean Okami?
No, Onimusha. Onimusha is an old Capcom game that was like Souls before Souls, right? It's like a Souls before Souls. It's like one of the first hard games, but it's like a hack and slash adventure. Back in the like early 2000s. I was probably like 19 when I played the first one. So they got a new one coming up.
I was not actually watching the Game Awards. I was just looking at Polygon's coverage.
Yeah, I was watching coverage from IGN, so it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, so that's what I'm working on. But yes, and I am going to charge my Steam Deck. I am going to charge it because I do want to play a bunch of games. Like I want to play Witcher 3 because I saw the Witcher 4 thing. So now Capcom games. Oh, now we know your age. I call myself a Senate millennial. I'm as old as you can be and still be a millennial. You can't get any older than me though. You're out of the group. All right, friends. I think that's enough chatting. It's been a great year. Thank you so much to all of you. Like seriously, now from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much. You all have grown this stream. It's incredible to look at the fact that right now it says like over 1,000 people are watching across platforms. That's just you friends coming to hang out with us. You keep showing up, and we are so grateful. Jeremy, thank you for being an amazing co-host this year. Thank you for being an amazing team lead this year. You've been fantastic. So we appreciate you.
Yes. And thank you, Mark. Everything you do is outstanding.
Oh, you better stop, because you know I love to hear it. You know I love to hear it. But friends, here's what else I love to hear. I love to hear that you are out there doing your best and building great apps. We'll see you next year. Take good care.